Hi, everybody. My name is Shelley. I'm very, very delighted to be the panel chair for this discussion. I see a lot of familiar faces there, so thank you, Olivia, Sylvian, Christina. Oh my gosh, I know just about everybody. But I'm really, really looking forward to this afternoon and to hearing the thoughts and ideas of our panel participants. So we've got Ed, Raja, Pablo, James, Peter, and Andre. And what I'm going to do is briefly introduce each panelist just before they talk, and they're going to talk for about 5 to 6 minutes. Some people will be sharing slides, and then what we'll do is we'll save the questions for the last 15 minutes. So that just gives all the panelists an opportunity to talk first. And then if you have any questions coming up for you as they are talking, you might want to just jot them down. And then please feel free for the last 15 minutes to really engage and share your thoughts and ask any questions that you feel have come up for you. So the first person today is Ed Parsloe. He's a highly experienced professional coaching and mentoring services leader and also the CEO of the OCM Group. Now, the OCM Group has shaped the evolution of the coaching profession over the last 20 years since they were founded in 1998. They were, interestingly, a founding member of the EMCC and also one of the first providers of accredited coaching and mentoring training. So Ed is going to share his experience of creating a fully digital mentoring EQA at foundation level. Ed, fire away.
Thank you, Shelley, and hello, everybody. I have got a couple of slides, which I'll just get up quickly to share with everybody. There we are. So thanks very much. I am Ed Parsloe, I'm Chief Executive of the OCM Group. As Shelley rightfully said, it was actually my father, Eric Parsloe. He was one of the co-founders of the EMCC in the UK. So we've had, as an organisation, but myself as well, had a very long association with the EMCC, and we're involved right at the very early stages around helping to create the professional standards, help create the EQA frameworks, which everyone in this call is acutely aware of. The way the business has developed is that we deliver a range of different levels of coaching and mentoring qualifications and trainings, both to individuals, but increasingly so into the organisational context. And we work with a range of different types of clients, both in the UK, but also globally. And again, delivering a range of different coaching and mentoring qualifications to support their broader strategic objectives. Talking specifically about mentoring, we do a lot of mentoring work with organizations, helping them to both design and deliver mentoring programs, specifically trying to align them to the kind of broader strategic objectives of that particular organization. And I think that's one of the key trends certainly that we're seeing in the work that we're doing is how do we create a mentoring resource internally that is able and has the skills to be a real strategic enabler for that organization. So there's a piece around the kind of strategic enablement, which I think mentoring allows or has the potential to allow. But one of the things I really wanted to talk about today and to share today was the digitalization of mentoring training. I think the pandemic has created a set of circumstances. So I'm sure we've all had to make the shift to online training and delivery. It's something that we've been doing at the OCM for a number of years now. And I just wanted to share our experiences very briefly of creating a fully digital mentoring EQA at foundation level, and some of our experiences of delivering it inside organizations, and what has made it successful and what has been some of the challenges that we faced as well. We started work on our mentoring program back in 2015. We created a coaching and mentoring framework called Electric back in 2015, and traditionally had some fairly sort of standard workshop-based programs that delivered this program both to individuals and also inside organizations. And it was very successful. It was fairly sort of standard kind of workshop based programs you've probably all been involved with. I was very keen that we made a shift to delivering both programs, both the mentoring and coaching versions, into a fully digital experience. Partly it was commercial driven, but partly also we were being asked to by our clients to come up with a fully digital version. Now, for me, there is always a challenge around developing mentoring and coaching skills digitally. How do we make sure that we create a really engaging digital experience? How do we create a robustness and a rigor to that? If you're not actually in the room with people, observing them, supporting them, how do we make sure that actually these skills are being developed in a way that is congruent with the kind of broader EMCC standards? So there was a number of things which we were keen to do with our digital program. First of all, make it a fully digital experience, make it fully asynchronous so that the learning could take place all over wherever the learner was, and not necessarily in the room and at any time, but also we needed it to meet these standards, the EMCC standards. So there was quite a lot of challenges for us in meeting all those different requirements. One of the things that we embarked upon to start with was the creation of really engaging digital assets. So I think, how do we translate a lot of the content that we were delivering in a workshop context? How do we transfer those into digital assets that weren't just fairly dry and boring e-learning pieces, but actually had a range of different learning styles and delivered the content in a way that was, as I said, interesting, exciting, and engaging, but also that people could then go away and do something with. Because the real key for me was, how do we get the learning to transfer from an online environment into the real world? Because as we all know, coaching and mentoring is a practical thing. It actually needs to be practiced. So that, how we manage the practice piece, how we gave people feedback, was a real key challenge for us to do in an online environment. There was also something around this kind of social versus individual learning. So when we were creating the programs themselves, we did a lot of work with some very experienced online learning designers, and there was this challenge for us of how do we integrate a kind of social learning element to what is essentially an individual program. And that was a bit of a challenge for us, because certainly from a commercial perspective, introducing kind of live events was costly for one, but also kind of had an impact on the asynchronous learning aspect as well. But we also know that there was tremendous value to be had in learning socially as well, especially if you're trying to working inside an organization. So creating moments for people to share learning, to come together, to practice, to get feedback, all those sorts of things. But again, if you're trying to create an individual digital program, that can be quite challenging. Also, how much support do we provide people during that process? So we all know that providing mentors or coaches with coaching and mentoring as they're developing these skills can really help embed these skills and really change the ways in which people are having these conversations. But again, there was some real genuine cost implications, as well as some potential impact if we were having live sessions throughout for the kind of asynchronous learning that we wanted to create. So there was quite a lot of challenges in terms of what we wanted to achieve versus the impact that we wanted to create with these programs. Where we ended up was we ended up with a 20-hour digital program. So we did the investment in terms of creating the assets. We created a range of different things, from live videos to e-learnings to animations to on text to audios. So we tried to hit as many different ways of delivering the content in an interesting and engaging way. And for us, the real key with it was again that application. So how do we develop the theoretical underpinning, but then actually encourage people to apply it? The way we got around that was by getting people to actually record snippets of their mentoring conversations, so about 15 minutes, and then we'd give them direct feedback in an online environment on how those conversations were going and how they were using the electric framework and how they were meeting the other competencies of the EMCC as well. So we had one recording at the beginning of the process, and then one second recording towards the end of the process, which was then assessed against the competencies. And alongside some written and some written questions and some answers to those, we were able to assess against the competencies. So I think we got that balance right between giving them feedback on actual observed mentoring sessions, as well as the more kind of practical feedback and assessment that we were giving on their kind of written answers to the questions. But what did we learn in terms of having created this program and having delivered it in a variety of different organizations with quite a few mentors that have come out of the process? I think one of the things even though we were keen to keep the one-to-one support down from a kind of commercial perspective, but also again from that kind of asynchronous aspect as well. One of the things we did find is that on the occasions when we did provide additional coaching support to people that were going through these online programs, the outcomes tended to be better. People were more engaged in the process, and actually they developed these skills much more quickly. So that was definitely one key piece of learning. There's cost implications, of course, and there's impacts on the way in which it's delivered, but it's rather reassuring as coaches and mentors to know that actually that has a great impact on people's ability to learn. So that was one thing. The other thing that we learned, especially when we're delivering kind of company-wide mentoring programs, that whilst the online learning itself was great at developing the skills on an individual level, actually a lot of the real benefit kind of organizationally, and to make the shifts in culture that we were seeking to make, that really benefited from also adding on some additional social learning aspects. So whether it be action learning sets or webinars that surrounded the digital learning, we have found that the implementations where we've added those in, the impact and the longer lasting impact, both at a kind of individual learner level, but also organizationally, has been much more increased. A more general point, again, from a kind of mentoring program perspective, I know this one seems obvious, but it's I'm sure you guys have also seen times when you're working with your clients when they've provided mentoring for everybody and it's seen as a good thing, which in and of itself it is. One of the things that we've seen when we've developed these skills and we've created these mentoring programs, the ones that have the real longevity, the ones that can create the greatest impact, the ones that can have that transformational possibilities and have a real impact on the broader strategy of the organizations, are ones where the mentoring program is very, very specific and meets a very specific need. So whether it be making a shift in the way leaders and managers behave, or whether it be a different strategic priority. But the real key is having that absolute clarity on what the purpose of the mentoring is, rather than just these kind of open-ended programs. So having that mentoring purpose really helps as well.
Thanks a million, Ed.
Conscious of time, so yeah, I'll carry on, but I'll pass back to Shelley.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you so much. It was really, really interesting how you developed the whole digital experience. I'm very aware that 5 to 6 minutes is such a short time when you have important things to say. So my apologies for cutting you off short. Please just keep an eye on your chats, panelists, because I'll give you a halfway warning and then a 1 minute warning. So the next person up is Raja. She's an executive coach, EMCC accredited, of course, certified supervisor, trainer, speaker, and co-author of Coaching in Islamic Culture, the Principles and Practice of Irshad. She has 25 years of experience in the provision of consultancy, training, and coaching for many entities, and particularly executives in Kuwait and the Gulf. Raja, I'm handing over to you, and as I said, I will give you a 3 minute warning and then a 1 minute.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, and thank you for the invitation. It's my pleasure to be with all of you today to share my experience regarding the mentoring and applying mentoring program. First, I want to thank Ed. And yes, last year I already graduated from OCM as a certified supervisor.
Wow.
I'm one of your graduates. Thank you very much. Actually, I'm in this field in mentoring and coaching for 13 years now. And mentoring, especially for the mentoring, it's really the two of them. But mentoring, why I started thinking about it and working in mentoring and applying it and have it as one of my services and creating the mentoring school here in Kuwait and the Gulf, because there is a huge need for mentoring. And when I started my research and see what's mentoring, usually I love to train people, teach people, educate them, but always I want to check that how can really I have this kind of mixture of international global knowledge expertise with the culture norms? We are in the different part of this world, and whatever programs or learning I want to apply, I want to ensure that it's really aligned with us as a values, ethics, and culture. Because I want something to stay with the people. It's not something just to have a certification on it. Mentoring as definition in Arabic literature we have defined 700 years back. And it's really, here we say we assist individuals to increase and integrate their growth in the areas that which they enroll in. And this is what I love about that. We need to ensure that there is a willingness, a readiness in the people that they want to go this path and to mentor them in this field, because to be ready about it and like what they are doing, it's really very important. And because mentoring, it's not just transferring the knowledge and expertise from the mentor to the mentee. Our role as mentor is to plant the learning seeds with the mentee that help them to continue learning. And in our religion, the first word of learning is read. And mentoring is not only just to send them the information and feed them with the knowledge and the information itself. It's more of help them and motivate them to be a partner with us as mentors and to be taking the responsibility of their learning. And this is where all these parts, which has helped me, motivate me to start this journey and to create mentoring schools and these schools to be accredited and approved from the EMCC. And why mentoring? Why also, what's reasons? It's really, let me think about mentoring and do a lot of investment on this. Because in my part of the world, in my country, if I'm from Kuwait, high investment in personal professional development up to $250,000. Country and organization invest a lot on people here. They really, when they start entering the work environment, they always have their development in personal professional. But in the end, there is no tools or there is no process, clear, defined process and tools that they transfer what they learn from knowledge and skills to others, either peers or newcomers in the field. So you find there is no return on investment. Other things encourage me, this loss of organization expertise due to unplanned work leaving, retirements and work opportunities. Also, now we find a lot here, according to the rules here and regulations, sometimes we have part of people that they don't plan for their retirements. They just decide, I will retire end of this year because I'm 55, I'm 60 years old. And they just leave the organization without having this impact on people around them. Also, if they have another work opportunities, that they will leave the organization within, according to the contract, 3 months warning period, and there is no preparation for others, for people who's working with or newcomers. And this is also, we notice it a lot here. Need of knowledge and expertise transfer for new generation by applying professional tools. Now, to teach people, to mentor people is not just to teach them. It's more, mentoring is a set of skills that we apply with mentees. And when it is, we have been trained, we trained mentors to have a set of professional tools, which is really motivate the newcomer, the new generation to be part in this learning is very important. Because most of my students, which is enter this school and graduate from it as professionals, they thought that I'm experienced, I'm the expert in the field. I have just to tell them the information, the easy way, because I'm just giving them, say, this is what you have to do. End of the day, they just do it, but it's not stuck in my mind. I didn't have this kind of process internally to understand the value of this information. But this is, I have a lot of reasons, but this is which is really motivate us to go this path. Why professional mentoring? because most of people say I'm mentor, and they just title themselves that we are mentors, a professional mentoring, and we do this all the time. And one of the things also I'm facing here, whenever I have new groups of people, they want to learn about coaching, they come and we're starting talking about coaching. I find that they title the mentoring coaching, that when I'm just providing the information, I'm just, I cannot say 100% transferring the knowledge, I'm just giving whatever I know. I'm answering the questions of my peers and the newcomers for the work. So this is called coaching. So starting with differentiating and educating people about what exactly mentoring, what's mentoring do, what's the benefit for you, to ensure the buy-in is very important. And why professional mentoring? Because we need to develop professionals in mentoring skills. Again, it's a set of skills. It's not just providing and feeding the others. We need very professional mentors in the field that having impact, they play the role in return on investment on them and others within an organization, creating this kind of culture of mentoring and learning organization. So we need them to be equipped with the professional tools and the skills. Value of a professional certification and credentialing, to recognize them as professionals in the field. It's really very important. It is a motivation for them to recognize themselves. When it is also a message for the new generation, newcomers to the field, that whatever you work on yourself, whatever you spend and invest on your time and learning, you will be recognized for something. And it is really a status that we help them to be recognized as professionals, and they are credentialing. Provide a new career opportunity for professionals as external professionals. Now, I'm very happy that we have accredited credential mentors. They already retired, they leave their organization, and they are external mentors. So showing them the values that mentoring is not only one shot. It's not something that I need to do it only within my organization. For me, it's lifelong job, because when I'm equipped with the skills, the tools, the knowledge, then I can be always added value for people around me in my expertise in the field, and because I'm mentoring, help them to understand the personal skills that they can build the trust with people and adding value for their life. And this is what will help them to continue on this field.
Thank you, Raja.
And the mind is not a vessel that needs filling. We need by mentoring that needs igniting. But this is where I went. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Raja. I love the mentoring definition from the Arabic literature. I'm very interested in that part of the world. And the idea of motivating the mentee to continue with their learning is fantastic. Thank you so much, Raja.
Thank you.
I'm going to rush on now and introduce Pablo. He holds a PhD from UCLA, has been Professor of Leadership at IESC, Spain, and CIBS at Shanghai, where he started coaching and mentoring courses that lead to EMCC EQA programs. Currently, he is Dean of UNIR in Spain, the biggest online university in Spanish language with over 50,000 students. He became the first president of EMCC Spain in 2019, and I'm delighted to welcome him. Pablo, only 5 to 6 minutes maximum. So off you go. Thank you.
Okay. Can you hear me? Yes?
Yes.
Well, I just want to tell you a little bit the story of my life. I didn't start as a mentor or coach. I am a professor. I have been always in business schools, top in the world. I have been teaching at UCLA, at Harvard, and at the ESE in Spain, and CIBS, top business school in Asia. Always with leaders and managers. And my field is leadership. And for 20 years or more, since I graduated from UCLA, I was always telling leaders that the leadership has to be incorporate coaching and mentoring elements to it. And because of this, I started like going deeper and deeper into coaching and mentoring. And then I saw that that more and more leaders, they were not interested in the regular business school teachings. They were interested in how to be better mentors. Okay, a little bit coaching, and I would say originally in the beginning of the 2000s, people would talk more about coaching, but later more and more about mentoring. And then I started being specialized. I started doing mentoring programs at the ESA. Then when I went to CIBS, I continued there, and they were very successful, very transformational. And I would also bring professional coaches and mentors to help them to develop that skills. And at some point at CIBS, I had so many people around, and I started having like almost several thousands of leaders already involved. And then is when I asked for the help of EMCC. And I realized that the schools could no longer be teaching this without a connection with an accreditation, professional accreditation, such as EMCC. I look around, I put a lot of effort, and I chose EMCC, and I started talking to them and put my contacts and my helpers in contact with EMCC. I didn't have a lot of time, but all little by little was in place, and in China was added to first to Asia Pacific, and later by itself to EMCC. And then I came to Spain, and with this experience, I came back to Spain, and I was the dean of this online university. And then I said, why don't we do the same thing, but directly? And since then, I knew more about EQA programs. Let's do an EQA program. And then we started putting together the EQA program. Beatriz Valderrama, who is also present in this session, and will be the next president of EMCC Spain in the next week, actually, because I am stepping down. I finished my time of foundation of EMCC Spain. Beatriz actually helped me to put together the first EQA program at UNIR. We started with few people, 15 people. At this moment, last year, we started 3 years ago in 2018. And last year, we already had 120 students, okay, in this program. And this is amazing. Since it's online program in Spanish, we also have people from Latin America, Spain and Latin America, online, and the experience is great. The online experience, we are all online university. We know how to teach online. When people have problems teaching online, it's not because of the online, it's because they don't know how to teach online or how to have experiences online. Everything can be translated into online. Everything, not everything, okay? A kiss cannot be done online. Other than that, almost everything, okay? And so I just wanted to finish with my experience in this program, EQA program at UNIR. At the beginning, we started a 6-month program, and then people would graduate, but they had to do all the paperwork for the certification. And then later, those who were certified, some of them would enter into becoming members of EMCC Spain. But this was not, we were losing people in all this path. People finished the program, then half of them got the certification, and half of the people certified became members of EMCC Spain. Okay, and it was working, but we were not very happy. And over the years, we have been able to negotiate. I was in the both parts, from the university and from EMCC and have seen the process. And only a few weeks ago, we signed an agreement between UNIR and EMCC Spain that is very, very good. Now we have a program from 6 months to 9 months. It's a master program on mentoring and coaching with EMCC certification. The people who will finish the master program already with the EMCC certification, and also very important, they are all EMCC members, student members from the first day, and the school will pay the membership. So for example, now we have for this program that we start, actually we just started a week ago, we have around 70 students. Then we will have another round in April, okay? So maybe this year we'll have 140 or 150 students. All these 150 students will be members of EMCC Spain, okay? And this agreement is very important. And so it establishes the rights of the school to use the logo and the name of EMCC, establishes the contributions of both sides, the schedule of the different events, the webinars that we will be as EMCC teaching to the students. And the purpose of this is that all these 150 students, we want them all of them will be members, but we want to retain all of them in EMCC Spain. If we are able to do this, the growth of EMCC Spain will be exponential. And by the way, we are also adding lately other schools. It is not UNIR alone. And one of them, I'm very proud to say, that is ESE Business School. My former school has joined with EQA programs. And this makes the knowledge of EMCC in the world of Spanish language very, very strong at this moment. Okay.
Pablo, thank you. That was really great, and I think your agreements around the membership model will be a great role model for other countries. So great, well done, Pablo. James, you're up next. James is from Kingston College in Ireland, and he's going to share his 8 wishes for mentoring training. I hope you have enough minutes for those 8 wishes, James. So I'm not going to carry on too much further. He runs the advanced diploma programs in coaching, corporate well-being and mentoring, and is a regular speaker and facilitator at events. Over to you, James.
Fantastic. Thanks a lot, Shelley. So I've got a timer going here, so hopefully we'll be okay. So the title I was told to talk about was the future of mentoring through the eyes of the EMCC Global EQA providers. And that's where I got my 8 wishes from. So my first wish is that we fundamentally change our approach to the Gen Y demographic from those sort of seminal mentoring texts. So those people between 25 and 40, in my experience, they want a partnership. They want to be checked and challenged, and they want to be given consistent and detailed feedback. And my sense is that what mentees would benefit most from now is actually a tribe of mentors who bring specialist knowledge and approaches to specific mentee requirements. It could be about role, different sort of role that the person's playing or what that would do. It could be a lot of it about mind management, metacognition, actually helping people with their capacity or skill to become aware of their own mental processes. A lot of stuff around emotional intelligence, self-awareness, social awareness, relationship management, self-management, all these types of things I think people really need to have the conversations around. And they want to know about best practice in different areas. But the reality is that probably comes from different people, because they need to tap into a range of different perspectives so that they can broaden and deepen their thinking. Because that's the reality, isn't it? That the knowledge is freely available now. So how it is collated, interpreted, codified, edited, and used is what's important and what will actually give our mentees the edge. So my wish is that we help mentees more with their thinking from other perspectives, start challenging their big assumptions. We do simulations with it. You can't really do that with your line manager. Thought experiments, again, hard to do when people are just concerned about the money and the KPI. And go on time travel with our mentees. What will the consequences and impacts of what you're telling me? What will it look like in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? What will it look like if you take this action in 10 minutes, 10 months, 10 years? My next wish is that standard best practice in organizations becomes an officially recognized and respected mentoring panel, complete with accreditation, as a lot of you already talked about, and actually a real commitment to ongoing continuous professional development mastery. We always need to keep working at that mastery. And it's these that become the entry requirements for sitting as a mentor on the organization's panel. There's a lot of empirical evidence shows that this drastically improves mentoring outcomes and ensures that there's process for the important things to actually get tracked, measured, and actioned. So I'd like to see more emphasis in the accreditation and training process on contracting, reflection, and mentoring maintenance. And when I talk about contracting, I always have something I call the RWA indicator for the mentee. That's, are they ready? Are they willing, and are they able? So the ready is really explaining to them clearly in the contracting stage about the what, the why, and the how of mentoring, and getting their agreement and buy-in on what the why and the how looks like from their perspective. The willingness is we deal with all sorts of different types of mentees at different stages of willingness. Some of them are reluctant, some of them are entitled, some of them are forced, some of them are motivated, some of them are stressed, some of them are quite desperate, and some of them are really keen and happy. And then we have to think about their ability. How able are they? And that's got two strands. So the systems and processes in place of the organization for the mentee to be able to follow through on their desired path. And is their own head in the right place to be able to follow through, even if the systems and structures in the organizations actually are in place. So I'd like us to train mentors to become more systematic in tracking their mentees' progress through concrete, tangible benchmarks. So we train mentees to understand their role in the process and how they can extract the most benefit from it. And we tend to spend time there as well. So the mentors train the mentees more, and that they have more reflective conversations. I'd love to see more use of the 4 Eyes reflective framework that I'm sure a lot of us use. What were the issues raised today? What were the ideas surfaced? What were the insights revealed? And what are your intentions? Specifically, what can you action by when? What might get in the way? What is the first step? What is the smallest step you can take that will yield you the biggest, most immediate impact? So we really get these conversations to be accurate, active. I'd like to see mentoring panels be more prestigious and recognized for the service they perform in organizations, and that members of the panel join from a place of intrinsic desire rather than because they feel extrinsically pressured. So not so much about the extrinsics, compensation, benefits, status, punishment, I've been voluntold or coerced to mentor, not about their reputation, not about praise, but about the intrinsic motivators, competency, mastery, growth in that, relatedness, aligning with their personal values, and for meaning making. I'd like to see mentoring panels collectively collaborate together, so there's an overall shift from mentoring being viewed as a nice to have into a must have. So my rhetorical question is, how can we find ways to ensure that the panel members are equally invested in the process and its outcomes? So here's my last wish in my last minute, is that we train our participants in the matching process, that we see it as an exercise in mentor-mentee co-creation with generous get-out clauses and an emphasis on high psychological safety and a hot working environment for mentee and mentor, being real and hot, honest, open, and transparent in the room. So we encourage our mentees to ask our mentors, why can you help me? And if so, how? What is it about our chemistry that you see being aligned? Change trickles. A drip of small ideas pursued consistently compounds over time, which leads to increased efficacy and positive outcomes for those we choose to serve. So together, fellow mentors, let's make this happen.
Thank you, James. That was really, really interesting, given the nature of the instant gratification generation. I think James's ideas to take them on this systematic and co-creative journey into their future will be very, very valued. Thank you, James. Next up is Peter. Peter is the owner and managing partner of Stibbits. And he started mentoring about 15 years ago when he introduced mentoring into his own company. He is founder and creator of the first mentoring training programs in Poland accredited by EQA or by EMCC. And he's the author of a number of textbooks and training books, such as Mentoring, the User Manual, and 12 Dysfunctions of a Mentoring Process. Peter, it's very nice to welcome you. Please also, sorry to be the bossy one here, remember your 5 to 6 minutes and check your chat to see your 1 minute warning. Thanks a million. Off you go, Peter.
Right. Did you hear me now, Shelley? Because I see that I have microphone.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, okay, great. You can hear me. Hello, everybody. Thank you very much for for your speeches. Somehow I will refer for some of them, especially Pablo and Raja, and in some points at James. We didn't discuss before, I promise you, anything like that. I just would like to say a few words about the barriers of mentoring training in Poland. And I would like to share some observation and some questions more than the answers. So as I've been conducting the mentoring trainings for over 2 years now, and I should be very happy because participants gave us the highest notes, equally for the substantive content, trainer skills, practically, and a great atmosphere during this session. And I should be very, very happy, and it would be fine. However, I am not happy. I would be happy if it was the really high conversion from the signing in to gaining an accreditation. But I observed the problem, as Pablo mentioned. We've got already more than 100 students completed the courses. However, only 50% got certificate, out of which only 10% gained EMCC accreditation. So I asked myself, why? Why it's something like that? Let me share some observation and hypotheses. The first thing, I see the couple of reasons. The first is the low awareness of what really a mentoring is and what is not. 2 years ago in Poland and MCC, we get 21 accredited mentors and coaches in EMCC Poland. Today, it's 60 something. And with low awareness, it's connected expectation implied by this misunderstanding. In most cases, people think that being an experienced professional, it's enough to be a mentor, or the other way around. One needs to be perfect and ingenious to get even started to be a mentor. Representatives of the first group think that there is no need to continue their development, their self-development and education. And those from the second one argue that they cannot do this because they are not good enough. A lot of unsupervised self-created mentoring trainings exist in Poland. There are also many foundations providing mentoring service pro bono. The point is that they accept everyone who applies. Then these volunteers work as mentors in the free market, at least some of them. Such processes are happening without any control, knowledge, nor supervision, not from ICF, nor from EMCC. In other words, the potential mentors, nabis, in fact, are not ready to work on themselves. They are not ready because they have lack of awareness, self-awareness, which is the key to the mentoring process. So they believe, some of them, that the mentoring process is a kind of professional counseling with some of elements of psychological support. They await a ready receipt and problem solution. That is how, in most cases, amateur mentoring process look like. And probably that is why when signing in, some of them, they are really surprised and confused because the training is not so easy for them. The training radically transfers them from the position of master to a student position. And trust me, for some of them, this is really, really tough moment. The self-reflection proves to be extremely hard for them, since they are detached from their own emotions and it is difficult not to impose their own opinion. The most challenging for them is to listen and not to give an advice. An essential barrier also, what I found, is a writing as self-reflection, because it is obligatory, usually nothing is, and they are afraid of judging. In addition to this, they need to write from me position, meaning owning their action and demonstration self-awareness. Before the training, none of the mentors not only did not participate in a supervision, but also had no idea nor knowledge what a supervision was, despite sometimes lots of hours of practice. The most of our students are coming from the coaching area. They finished some coaching schools and trainings. Thus, not many were aware and had thoughts on what they could work, which deficit and strengths possess. The training for them is in a way of catharsis, as well as a really check, which often turns out to be uncomfortable. Nevertheless, I must stress that those who complete and gain accreditation became really good mentors. In overall, I'm just thinking why it's like that, and they have two questions and one request. I think that the EMCC, as we as a MCC member, should emphasize the importance of education, but also clearly address two issues: whether mentoring should be an elite profession, not for everyone, like coaching in Poland is now, or should it be freely available and easily accessible for everyone? I do not want personally that the image of mentoring to be as usual and for everyone, and it's worthless, as a coaching one in Poland. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Peter, for your observations and the challenges that you have observed. And certainly, I know you and I have had lots of conversations about solutions to these. So thank you for bringing that to us. Last but not least, we have Andre, who is by trade an aerospace engineer in the New Zealand Royal Air Force. He's been part of the RNZAF's Workspace Mentoring Scheme since 2009 as a mentee, mentor, workshop facilitator, as well as a contributor on the program's leadership team. So Andre, over to you. And then after Andre, we will have a short, but I'm sure powerful questioning time.
Okay, well, thanks, Shelley. I'll try hit my timer. So as Shelley said, I'm going to give you an overview of the Royal New Zealand's Air Force mentoring training system. I'm going to tell you a little bit about where we were, where we are, and where we're going. So before I do that, I'll give you a little background to our scheme, so it gives some context to that conversation. So in 2008 is when we implemented our mentoring scheme, and it was there to provide like an augmentation to performance and stimulate innovation from our junior and experienced people in the organisation by matching them with an experienced person. Now, since then, we've matured our program somewhat, and we do have peer-to-peer mentoring and coaching, as well as cases of reverse mentoring and coaching, which has been discussed earlier. Now, the mentors within our program, it's outside their normal working job. So, for instance, I'm an engineer, and I'll be mentoring outside of that. So as a mentor and providing those services, not as an engineer, but as a mentor. So there's a big difference between the two. In 2014, we achieved the gold standard accreditation with the International Standards for Mentoring Program and Employment. And again, in 2018, we gained international gold standard for our program with the EMCC and the European Quality Award for Bespoke Mentoring Short Courses. These are badges we wear proudly, and we still seek to continue to improve upon that, where we were at those stages. The accreditation is important to us because it allows us to benchmark ourselves on international standards, and it's an important process for us to maintain quality and ensure things like the code of ethics is against the standard and best practice internationally. So where we were with our training, when we initially set up our program, we had a one-day foundation workshop, and this was for all mentees and mentors to come along to learn about the program, what to expect, what mentoring is, and the various tools, techniques, and aspects of mentoring. We originally had this, so mentees and mentors did this course, this workshop separately, but we quickly discovered that there was a lot to be gained by training mentees and mentors in the same training environment. They demystified the process of mentoring, but also we do our matching for mentees and mentors after the workshop. So it allowed us to gain insight into their personalities and see, you know, who will be compatible with who, etc. So it made our matching process a lot more successful by doing that. So where we are now, we've developed, we've progressed a bit, and we've developed a professional development framework for our facilitators. And this allows us to maintain a level of competency through our workshop facilitators, as well as standardizing the training. So we have multiple locations where we're delivering this training to, and multiple facilitators. So this ensures that the product being received by our mentees and mentors remains somewhat similar and to at least a benchmark. We've also introduced a training, like a training leadership group or a training leadership board, and this is to help maintain the quality of the training that's been developed, but also as a sort of an approval board to allow new things to come into the training, to make sure that we're progressing in a direction, we're not just staying stagnant, and conversely not letting things in. So it's a way, an approval type setup. We've added mentoring support posts to our mentoring training program, and this is a way that after the mentoring workshop has been done, then throughout their mentorship, we send mentors periodic posts, and these are just small snippet emails of tips and sort of little small rehashes for them to sort of keep that sort of currency and keep thinking in sort of the mentoring mindset. And although the one-day foundation workshop works well, and we still implement that today, we did notice that there was skill fade would set in over time. So a mentor may have done this training years ago and has only trained sort of through, has only been mentoring 3 or 4 different people. And so over time, there's skills fade, and maybe the contents that we gave them 5 years ago is outdated. New research has been done, and there's new things coming in. And so what we've had to look at is sort of take a step back and say, okay, how can we provide a continuous training environment for our mentors? Since then, we've developed an advanced practitioner 3-day workshop that allows, that dives deeper into the theories and aspects of mentoring, and it allows mentors to either take 1, 2, or all 3 days of that workshop, depending on, you know, their ability to attend. We're also looking at introducing short, sharp, focused CPD sessions on various tools, techniques, and aspects of mentoring. So not all people in our organization have the time to dedicate to, you know, a 1-day workshop or a 3-day workshop to stay on top of their skills, to stay relevant, and to build themselves in a mastery situation. So we're building these CPD sessions to sort of expand, to give them an ability to do that. And we're talking 1 to 2 hours, very focused on an aspect or on a tool to allow that, to facilitate that. We're also providing a pathway towards EIA, so the individual European Individual Award, for some of the mentors that want to keep stepping up that process. So that advanced 3-day workshop plays a part in that, but we also facilitate the various aspects and allow that to happen. And for us, providing that pathway is important, because then we have in our organization, we have advanced mentorship to the people wanting that, which is performance, which is always going to be better for our organization. But also for the training program or the mentoring program, it allows continuous improvement, because these mentors that are going through this pathway and gaining the EIA and going on to senior practitioners are then feeding back into our mentoring scheme to make sure that we're sort of organically growing and continue to improve over time. We're not staying stagnant. So in summary, we have these discrete workshops and that will continue into the future. It's a great way to impart those essential skills and foundations, but they need to be augmented with continuous professional development sessions, bite-sized, so it's not taking the whole day out of someone's work day. They're able to be easily digested and spread out over time. Yeah, so thanks.
Thank you so much, Andre. Certainly some really, really interesting stuff. And I know that the New Zealand Air Force has been a role model, certainly with embedding a coaching and mentoring culture in their organization. And there's some fantastic ideas there. Thank you so much, Andre. I'm now going to open the floor for questions, although we might just extend the session a few more minutes than what it is planned for, but we probably will only have time for about 3 questions. So it's a who puts their hand up first kind of thing. So Irina, you were the first. So what question do you have?
Thank you. A very simple question. If you are looking into the future, what would be one topic or subject that you would introduce in the agenda of like training agenda for mentors that you are not considering at the moment at all?
Great question.
Thank you.
Anybody in the panel? Pablo, thank you.
Well, in my type of mentoring that is very related, of course, to the business school and the companies, because there are many other kinds of mentoring, I think we are very focused on mentoring one-to-one, and I'm very happy we also move into team mentoring and coaching. And I'm very happy I've been in some conferences where we are also moving into more organizational change. But I think in this level of organizational change, our mentors or the programs that we have are still very, very weak. So we have a lot of tools, a lot of training for the one-to-one. We are increasing the levels of team mentoring and team coaching, but however, there is a big need to give the resources and the tools for mentors to also help in organizational change. And there's a lot more to do on this field, I think. I mean, I know we're on that direction, but this is important, or else change management is sometimes in hands of so-called leaders with visions that have no idea whatsoever about how to manage change. And this has to be professionalized.
Yeah, just to build on that, Pablo, we do a lot of training of individuals, but as part of wider organizational programs, I guess similar to what you're talking about there, Pablo. Whilst we introduce a lot of concepts, say around diversity and inclusion in our training, the one area, to answer your question, Irina, what we don't cover at the moment, which what I think we probably should, is climate. You know, how we're addressing the climate changes and the catastrophe that's happening around us. We don't do that at the moment, and it would need to be correct for the organizational context to be talking about that as well. But you know, it's a conversation I don't think any of us can avoid, either in mentoring or coaching. So I don't have the answers to that, but I think it's something we will have to address and figure out what our response is to that.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Ed. Okay, there's a question coming up here for James. James, what are the qualities you look for in a mentee?
Yeah, thank you, Shelley. Yeah, by the way, just quickly on that last one, I think the other area we could do more on in mentoring is help mentors talk to their mentees about self-improvement versus self-care, getting the balance right between self-improvement and self-care. You don't have to be a therapist to have that conversation, and it'd be really valuable. Yeah, qualities in a mentee. I come back to my ready, willing, and able indicator. You can't make people self-motivated. You either have it or you don't, as Jim Collins always says. And to me, that's the most important thing. People have to really want it. They have to know what they're doing. They have to have a burning desire inside them. Their internal fires need to be lit with something. They need to understand, what sort of contribution do I want to make? What's meaning mean to me? How am I going to make meaning? How can I improve my mastery? What is it? Where's that goal? What does that look like? And to have crystallized it enough to come into the room ready, then I think you have a wonderful mentoring relationship. And that to me is the most important thing, that people are truly motivated and really ready for the mentoring process.
Thank you, James. Anyone else? Last one. Andre, question coming up for you here. How is content that you delivered kept up to date and relevant for current best practice, or relevant to current best practice?
Okay, so we on a yearly basis, we talked about we've got our training mentor group, which is sort of like the board that allows things to happen. We get together formally once a year for a continuous improvement event. So we will sit around and we will review the year. We'll review where we want to go, so we're ensuring that we're still looking to the future, and we will bring all ideas to the table and discuss them. So we're ensuring that we have at least this one big continuous improvement event, but we're also surveying after everything we do. So after every training workshop we do, during relationships, we're ensuring that we have these surveys to sort of feed back into our quality management system, and looking for, okay, are we missing something here? Is there a trend in a certain area? You know, have we overlooked something? So that in a way allows us to look in ways we can improve, but also in that we're not doing so well, but also look at new ways we can, new directions we can take with our program, which, you know, 5 years ago led us onto the EMCC as part of that sort of continuous improvement process.
Thank you so much, Andre. So with that, everyone, I want to draw close to this, and I'm sure you'll join me in thanking our panel, Ed, Raja, Pablo, James, Peter, and Andre, for their valuable contribution today, and also a huge thank you to all of you. We had a lovely audience here and engagement, and I wish you all a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for joining us today.